Fantastic. We are all now ready to go. So a little update in terms of professional learning from the EAS over the coming academic year. We have launched the professional learning offer for this academic year. It is now available via the EAS supporting our school's website. The QR codes there on the screen will take you through to the full professional learning offer. On there, it's not just everything digital, but everything that we are offering across the organisation, from teaching and learning to leadership to all the different AOLEs, curriculum and assessment support. Huge amount of stuff in there too. The first and the big offer that we are going to be sharing this year is our new DCF days being held at St Julian's Primary School. So in essence, what these days are designed to do is to support your AOLE leads with the development of digital competence in their particular AOLE. So we're looking at almost distributing the ownership of digital skills across multiple leads. So when they're looking at planning and they're looking at lessons and observations and doing those kinds of things around their AOLE, they've got a digital hat on as well, and they can start then suggesting ideas with a digital focus too. As you can see, one will be running each month throughout the academic year. So the first one is the one in October, looking at LLC, and then monthly we will add a new AOLE to that list. These are very popular. I would say they're probably all about half full at the moment. So if you are interested or you are looking to get people involved in this session, please try and get as many people booked on as possible very, very quickly. So that is the DCF in AOLE days, very popular, and really looking forward to sharing those with you. Secondly, our second programme that we've run now for many years is the Digital Leadership Programme. This year we are running two kind of variations of digital leadership. The first variation is for new leads or leads where digital is just getting going in your school. Now, in this course, over 4 days, we will look at leadership, professional learning and innovation, curriculum provision and pedagogy, and then ed tech. And each of these sessions will run in a different primary school from across the region. So as an example, you can see there, Nanta Park will host the first, St Julian's the second, Llancaich, and then Georgetown. And on each of those sessions, you will have the opportunity to partake in a learning walk, but also to have a presentation from each of the leaders in each of those schools about their journey and to question them on how they've supported digital in their school. So that's the first kind of tranche of digital leadership. But new this year is a leadership programme for sort of schools where you have an experienced digital lead in post, or you've got digital and it's moved on into a certain position where you think it's quite comfortable and you're thinking now, what is next? Now, this programme is going to be built around pedagogy in the classroom. How do we get the most out of the technology that we have available to us when teaching? So in the first session, we're going to look at an approach called From Ed Tech to Ped Tech, when we're going to look at research-backed pedagogy and unpicking our pedagogical beliefs. The second session then will look at the DNA of learning, so looking at how we use technology for direct instruction, how we provide feedback through technology, assessment, and also we develop independence and independent practice. The third session will look at designing innovative lessons using technology, and that will be based on an Apple book called Elements of Learning. And then the final session then we'll look at future technology. How are we going to use things such as AI to support teaching and learning in the classroom, but also support workload of teachers as well? So a really exciting opportunity here to kind of delve a bit deeper into leadership of digital specifically, and how we can take that on even further. So again, I'll pop the links to those in the chat. And again, if you'd like to sign up for those courses, then you can do so using the links in the chat. Okay, the next offer then that we're doing this year is based around coding, computational thinking, computer science. And this is going to be offered in sort of 3 satellite schools across the region. So the first cohort will be running in Georgetown Primary up in Blaenau Gwent, the second at Llancaich Juniors in Caerphilly, and the third then will be in Maindy Primary School in Newport. Now, this is a 3-day programme where on the first day, you will look at computational thinking and unplugged coding. So you'll have an opportunity to really develop your understanding of the different terms, terminology, look at the curriculum and how we can develop those skills without a device in front of us. The second session then will look at developing block-based coding through Scratch and also through J2 Code. And then the third session then will look at things like microbits, robotics, those kinds of things as well. So a real broad opportunity to develop those coding skills across the year. Now you'll notice for those 3 cohorts, they join the first one starts in November. You'll then have some time to put into practice what you did in the first session. The second session then will start in January. And the same again then, the third session will be in March. So an opportunity there to develop coding skills, an opportunity to send delegates along to that. There are around 20 spaces available for each one. So again, please do sign up as quickly as possible to ensure you have your space. The next one is the Digital Skills for Teaching Assistants program. Again, much like the coding program, we're going to have 3 satellites for this across the region. This is going to be a 1-day program. It was previously 2, but it's now going to be a 1-day program. And again, you can see where they're going to take place across the region. So the first session will take place in Georgetown in October. So if you're Toppen Torfaen or in Blaenau Gwent, that would be ideal for you. The next session will take place, the next cohort will take place in Caerphilly at Llancaich Juniors, and then the third cohort will take place at St Julian's Primary in Newport. So opportunity, regardless of where you are in the region, to attend one of those sessions or to send teaching assistants along who are looking to develop their skills and confidence in a bit of a crash course, really, of these are all the things that you might be using in the classroom. Let's develop that skill as we do. So again, those sessions had really positive feedback last year. So it'll be welcoming to see as many of you signed up for that as possible. And I will pop the links to those in the chat and you'll be able to access those following today's session. Next up on the list is our Online Safety and Future Technology series. This started on Monday, and on Monday we were looking at the online safety tool 360 Safe, looking at policy, practice and procedure, the resources that are available to you to teach digital citizenship in the classroom. And then the following 4 sessions now are going to focus specifically on artificial intelligence or AI, looking at introducing and demystifying AI in the first session, thinking about how you can develop guidance for your school and for your staff in the second. The third session then will look at how you use artificial intelligence to create resources, to sort workload, etc. And then the fourth session is about AI in your curriculum. What AI tools will you use? How can you use them? And which ones are available to you? So these sessions, again, will all be online on a Monday over the next 4 to 5 weeks. They will be recorded, so if you're unable to attend, then you'll be able to catch up with the recording afterwards. And again, the links to those are now in the chat. The final thing then as part of our offer this year is the Developing of Shared Understanding of Progression Cluster project. And as you can see on the screen, this is broken down into 6 sessions that can take place across a term or across an academic year. Now, last year we had 3 clusters attend this programme. We had 2 in Torfaen and 1 in Monmouthshire, and it says there evidence of high impact. The results that were coming out of the clusters following those training sessions was really, really positive. We're talking about increased skills and confidence for all staff, so that's all teachers across the schools, all teaching assistants who attend the training, a real clear understanding of what progression looks like with digital skills, and a join up really across your cluster of what that looks like. So the 6 sessions are kind of designed to develop that cluster vision and strategy in the first instance, working with the digital leads and your senior leads to really design what that's going to look like. The next 3 sessions then look at progression across each progression step. We have a session looking at transition and progression step 4. And then a final session then where we kind of just look at the impact of the programme and feed that back and decide on some next steps for you and your cluster. We also then have additional sessions available on request as part of that programme. The TA training day was really popular last year, and essentially that is on a cluster inset day. We get all the teaching assistants from across your schools into one school, and they go through a number of workshops throughout the day to upskill themselves in a number of different tools. What I will say is that session is available outside of the cluster programme. So if you're looking for a TA training day across the cluster and you're not taking part in the full programme, please do get in touch with us and we'd be happy to arrange that for you. So this is the digital supporting our school site. And has now all the resources that you need available to you to support digital learning in your school. This is available in both English and in Welsh, and you can just click on that little button there and that will take you to the Welsh version of our site. So as you scroll down, you've kind of got a little welcome video that explains to you how to use the site and what's on there. We have a list of our partner schools and the support that they can be offered can be found on this link by here. We have the link to the main professional learning offer, as I shared with you towards the start of this session. And then we also have the links then to all of those programs that I just shared with you. So the digital leadership programs, the DCF days at St Julian's, our Techno Teach Coding for primary, our TAs for digital skills for TAs, and our online safety future technology series is all there to book. So if you can't find the links within the professional learning brochure, come to this site and all the booking links are there. Just to note on the booking links, anything that is physical will close 7 days before the start date, and anything that is online will close 24 hours before the start date. So really important to be aware of those dates so you can make sure you book and sign in on time. What I'm hoping to do throughout the year is essentially just make sure that any professional learning videos that I do are updated and added to the site. This link here will take you through to a playlist where any videos like network meetings, walkthroughs, anything along those lines will be available, so you can catch up on all the latest EAS digital support. And then any online sessions will be added as a recording as well on the page. So multiple places to find the information that you need. We've also got a number of Hub Presents videos in here. So Hub runs sessions multiple times throughout the year with the external providers. So I try to just collate them all in one place for you, so you don't have to go and find them. And similarly then with any other sessions that I run too. I've also put a section in here for professional learning links with our external partners, so the people really who provide support via the Hub platform. Each of those links will take you out to their dedicated space, so the Microsoft Learn platform, the Apple Education Community, the Adobe Exchange, and also the Google Education training courses, all available via the links on the screen there. So if you can't find them, come here. Resource-wise, we have our Planning for Progression digital progression maps, which we showcased for you throughout the last 12 months. Again, if you want to click onto the image or the link there, that will take you out to those progression maps, which are hopefully going to be updated over the next couple of months. In these drop-down ends, you have some additional progression maps that aren't currently on the website. Mapping resources for your curriculum, so that includes the Excel spreadsheets at primary and secondary, and also then the DCF software mapping tool developed by the team at Nanta Park. Any online safety resources such as the Common Sense Media education plans and the 360 Safe templates, so that's your acceptable usage, your online safety policies, your social media policies are all available via that link there. And then any resources that Estin share, including case studies from schools within the region that have been highlighted by Estin as having good practice. So lots of interesting resources and information to have a read through there. I mentioned the Cluster Professional Learning Programme during the professional learning offer. Here is an impact study, a case study of the work that the Abersychan cluster did over the last 12 months, which highlights essentially what we did throughout the programme and the impact that it had on each school in relation to skills and confidence of practitioners, skills and confidence of teaching assistants, how that's changed, how the school and the cluster work, and also then what impact that has had on learners' skills as well. So an interesting read, and if you're interested as a cluster in getting involved in that programme, then please do take a look. I've also highlighted any networks that you might want to join. So we've got obviously the network that we're in now, which is the digital network, along with the Hub digital community, the Minecraft education community, and the Minecraft esports community. Any recordings of network meetings will be placed here. So following today's session, I will place the recording on this site, following lots of editing. And then finally, my contact details. So if you do need to get in touch at any time, then you are able to do so using my contact details by there. So that is the supporting our school site. A lot of work has gone into that over the summer to make sure that everything you need is not behind any walls or any login details. It's all there for you. Those software maps, as an example, all you really need to do is click to open it, download your own copy, and then off you can go. So it should all be ease of access, everything there. You don't need to find anything. Okay, so in terms then of, obviously on top of the EAS offer, we have a range of offers available from external providers. The first one to highlight to you is the Apple Teacher Train the Trainer sessions. Now, those of you who are familiar with Apple Teacher and have done your Apple Teacher badges, or you've got teachers in your school who have done them, Apple, with the new iOS 18, have basically redesigned the Apple Teacher program. So they've updated the content for each of the badges to make sure that everyone is aware of how to use GarageBand, Keynote, etc., etc. And they are now offering free training for digital leads in a train the trainer style model. So you will come along to the day. Apple will train you up on how to use all the Apple Teacher resources, and they will give you resources to use. You will then be able to go back to your school and roll that program out with teachers in your school. It's a fantastic program. It's really good at upskilling your staff in terms of how to use iPads effectively, because I do think sometimes that we kind of scratch the surface with what iPads can actually do. So if anyone is interested in that program, the link is in the chat, but you can also click that blue link there on the screen. It's a free course and you get lunch. So, you know, what more do you want? You can't ask for more. Okay. In terms of then other things to be aware of, and I'm sure Dom and Meredith will highlight these for you when they come to join us later. The Adobe Express live lessons have now kicked off again and have started. These are a really, really popular resource for you as teachers, not only to support teaching and learning in the classroom, but as a professional learning tool. If you've got teachers who haven't got a huge amount of confidence in using Adobe Express, they can almost have Dom and Meredith teach your pupils and teach your teachers at exactly the same time. So it's almost a win-win. So they're offering a number of sessions throughout this term, looking at things such as Owain Glyndŵr Day, Euro Day of Languages, Black History Month, National Poetry Day, all the way through to Recycling Week and Halloween. Now, you can sign up for those lessons by heading to Hub and clicking on the events tab, and you'll see the Adobe Express littered all over there with all the dates that they're offering them. And they are available now bilingually in both English and in Welsh as well. So again, a really fantastic resource available to you for free from the Hub platform. Again, with Adobe, they are offering the Level 1 and Level 2 Creative Educator courses. So these are online training sessions just to, again, upskill you and your confidence when using the Adobe Express tool. Again, available in English and in Welsh, and they last around 90 minutes, so about an hour and a half. I think they're after school, but you do end up with more confidence using Adobe. And if you like collecting digital badges, you get those two lovely badges at the top of the screen there. So again, if you like that kind of thing, I do. I like collecting badges. We can pop those on your little signatures too. If you're interested or looking at starting off esports in your school, so this is something that's really on the rise now. Minecraft have run for the last 2 years, I believe, an esports competition for schools across Wales. There's a primary and a secondary programme. And essentially, you play a couple of friendly fixtures doing sort of build challenges against other schools. You then go into a league, I think, after Christmas. And then if you're if you qualify, you get to a final at the Principality Stadium. And when they get to the Principality Stadium, they get to go on a little tour, and then they play sort of against other schools in the room as well, which is a really, really cool experience and opportunity for our children. Again, all of that can be signed up for via the events tab in Hub. Final little bit of notice on Minecraft Education. Gone are the days now where you had that faff of downloading the world to your device, uploading it to OneDrive, downloading it again. Minecraft Education is now cloud-based. So that means if your pupils are logged into their Hub account, they will save their worlds directly to their OneDrive via their Hub account. So they can move from device to device without having to export their world and re-import it into the game. So any further information you need on that can be found in the news section on the Hub website, and there's links there then on how to enable all of those features for that platform. So lots of exciting things to share with you at the start of the year, lots of professional learning available for you, and resources via the Hub platform. And I would always suggest regularly checking back in on the events tab and the news tab in Hub, because lots of digital updates do come through there. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to invite the team from St Willis Primary to share with you their journey over the past 12 months with digital learning. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to invite Meg and Kath to start sharing theirs. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more from you both about your journey. So thank you very much for joining us, and I shall say no more. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
So hi, I'm Meg Morton, digital lead in St Willis Primary.
I'm Catherine Dickinson. I'm also joint digital lead. We sort of split our roles as digital lead. Meg does the curriculum side of things, and I do like all the digital platforms, all the logins for staff, pupils, and all the equipment. Look after that.
Yeah, but we work together. So just give us 2 seconds and we'll pop our slideshow on for you.
So just a little bit about our school. We're a 1.5 form entry. So last year we had 340 pupils. We've sort of got that this year. But with our school, we do have a high, massive turnaround. 85 joined last year and then 55 left. So it does pose the problems of our when it comes to our teaching and learning. Also with our school, we're quite unique that we're 120 years old, and we celebrated a massive anniversary this year. We're in a listed building. You could probably see a little snapshot of us there, our school. It's a beautiful building. We all love teaching in it. However, it does pose a lot of problems. We have no grass. So this has a big impact on our teaching and learning. We do get around this. We are quite creative in using the local park, but as we have no access from year 1 to year 6 for outdoor learning. But as I say, the staff are brilliant, and we do try and be very creative with this. We're quite a super diverse school in the fact that we are 2/3 EAL. We've got 44 different languages within our school, and most of our children who do come in from other countries come with no English, and also their parents. So that does pose problems too, but we do get around it. Equipment wise, we pupil to device ratio, we're 1 to device for 2 pupils. We've worked hard in the last 4 years in building up our resources, all our devices, making sure that each class has access to a class set of Chromebooks, and last year we upped that with our iPads, making sure Key Stage 2 access to Chromebooks, and this year we've used our EdTech grant, doing the same in foundation phase, making sure each class has access to a class set of iPads. We were inspected last year, May 2023, really positive inspection. Meg's going to talk a little bit about that.
So following our inspection, we had really, really positive feedback. Lots of things they used were how we were effective in caring school. Probably my favourite part is it how there was a strong focus on inclusion, ensuring quality for all, while celebrating diversity. And as you've heard already, we are a super diverse school. One of our recommendations was to improve pupils' digital and Welsh oracy skills. However, this was actually a really positive recommendation for us because we had identified this. We had already put some monitoring processes in place, and we had started to identify this. So we incorporated it into our SDP as our major priority. And we felt then we were really on that start of our new push, our new journey. So, Sean was explaining about this year. So last year I went on the EAS Primary Digital Leadership course. I would recommend it to everyone if you have not been on it. So last year there were some schools the same, some were different. So we did Maindee, St Julian's, Llancaich and Georgetown. And it was amazing to see the different types of schools, the equipment they had, the buildings, what the children were able to do, their areas. It was really, really well created. So thanks, Sean. After being on each of these, we ensured that we kind of incorporated new things to really push our school. Some things that we did were I introduced the Google Classroom because we weren't a Google Classroom school. Now we've got it running across all Key Stage 2 as our kind of digital journal, which was really, really working well, isn't it? We looked at our staff expertise and we created a professional learning marketplace during a staff meeting. So we were given 10 minutes in each area, a bit like speed dating, and we every 10 minutes we would pass it round so that everyone got to explore like something new. We had things like Scratch, Hub Britannica, the Purple Mash. We looked at Excel, looking at that data and those shortcuts, and that came out as really well, and it worked very well, didn't it?
Yeah, staff were really positive.
So following on then from one of the other, I think it was Llancaich or Georgetown, when we were talking with Sean, we looked at our whole school approach and we started looking at Cynefin, specifically for our school because it was 120 years old. It was our year of celebrations. And so we looked at different planning processes that would support the DCF and whole school approach. So if I show you exactly how this went. So I know Sean has also shared the progression map on one of the earlier documents, and I really recommend this. This has given all of our staff that boost, that bit of encouragement, because each of these elements, for example, in the podcast, the video production, breaks down everything about it. It gives you the apps, and you don't need all of the apps. You could just have one of them. And it broke down the progression steps, and it's just so easy to follow. So we took in a staff meeting, we got all our staff together and we thought, right, how can we become more creative with our digital to develop our staff and for our children? So we created the document on the left, so our planning for progression. And each class then, each year group, looked at an element or two and how they could develop that, again, with that progression. All our staff filled it in. But we did say to them, you don't have to stick to it because I know things go different ways or things get changed around. And this is then how it looked within our school.
So from nursery, they took the element of photography and they created a day in the life of nursery. So the children were taught how to use an iPad and they went around just the nursery and taking things of their favourite things that they like to do and use. And they created a pic collage of that. Following on from that, in reception, we also did, because I'm a reception teacher, we did the element of photography. We went round the school in groups, took photos using the iPad. The children experienced going close to things they were taking photos of and back, making decisions. Oh, is that a good place to stand? Because we also went outside the school and took photos of the school. We then chose photos to create an iMovie, and we also used the element of music production, and they use Purple Mash, which we have brought into in our school and use it throughout throughout the school we used to explore, and they created their own music, and then we chose music together and created an iMovie. In year 1, 2, they built on from that. They used photography as well, taking photos of group, but they also did video production, taking videos of groups performing a poem linked to Benjamin Zephaniah, People Need People, and they created a rap with this. So lots of poetry in their literacy lessons. And again, they used music production, but they used the iPads using GarageBand. They were all taught how to use GarageBand. I remember going in as an observation, looking at the year 1, 2 children, and they were really buzzing. Very noisy, but it was great. These were then put in, both receptions in year 1, 2 were put into iMovies, which were then shared either in their class assembly, so parents got to see them as well. Links went on to Seesaw, so parents got to see, or they were shared in our whole school celebration assemblies on a Friday. So that's foundation phase.
And then in year 3, 4, we looked at more of the web designing. So we created new websites for our school, and also introduced the site of podcasting. So we had, for our 120 years, we had open evenings and an open afternoon, where then the children would come, they were asking questions to people who had been to the school or old parents, and then we incorporated that onto their websites too. Then in year 5, 6, they did something slightly different, but it was amazing. They looked at animation, podcasting, and video production. So they actually worked with a historical artist called Tom Maloney, who previously worked at the 14 Locks Educationary Centre. And they focused on the life of Newport in the 19th century, with the focus of the Chartists, because that was so local to our school. We conducted museum visits to the Chartist exhibition. And then the pupils in 5, 6, we've got 3 classes, all went down and they took all the information and wrote pages for a specific book that they were creating. They drew images, they looked at maps and referencing all of their work. Then they used the Google Docs to collaborate all of it. And Tom then has put the book together, Newport, The March of Time, which you can see the front cover of at the moment. And the pupils use Pep-It Pals then to animate all of their drawings and narrate specific scenes. What's really exciting now for our year 5, 6, well, the whole school, is that there'll be an event launch for the book, which is currently with the printers. And we're going to invite all of our year 6 from last year back as a big open evening. And the project is actually now going to be submitted for the Welsh Heritage Awards in October. So they've worked, well, everyone has worked so hard, but we thought, how can we push it a little bit more? So we got our school council to do a slight bit of podcasting. And also our digital leaders then looked at databases from the pupil intake from 1904 to the pupil intake now, and looking at how the school was the same-sex school, but now how it's all together. So that was really good, looking at that data side of it. So that's our kind of our digital frame for our school, the way we've become creative and really pushed it on this year.
We're going to look at doing something similar for next term in the spring term.
Yes, in the spring term. So yeah, so diolch yn fawr. If anyone has any questions, please ask away, and hopefully you might know the answer. If not, they've got our emails at the bottom as well. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much, both. I suppose the only question I would have is, how did you get over any barriers or challenges that you had sort of throughout the project in terms of time or resourcing or those kinds of things? Because they're the things that tend to pop up all the time, isn't it, when you kind of embark on a big project like you've done?
I think we're sort of now, we're in the mindset that you just have to give it time, you know, that not other things are pushed aside, but you know, you have to plan for it. And everybody didn't found it stressful.
No,
nobody
enjoyed it as well, because it was something new. It was creative, and although we had some not setbacks as such, people going, oh, I don't know how to use this, that progression map that you shared with us on the last course, Sean, I honestly can't explain how good it was. It broke everything down. And if somebody said, Meg or Catherine, I don't know how to do this, we would sit with them through the progression map, and they go, oh, it's as easy as that. Yeah, it is. And it's just making time for it.
And in terms of using our devices, we're quite good at going saying, oh, I need the devices now, and nobody sort of argue, you know, we've got enough, that we didn't see that as a problem.
No.
Oh, bless. Have you got any plans then for this year, in terms of, you kind of did quite a bit of focus on photography and so on last year? Are you changing it up this year in terms of what that might look like?
Definitely. We are going to have a look and see what elements are missing, and
so we can push that through as well. So looking at the ones that maybe were not hit so much, and then looking at how we can progress that through. It'll be really interesting to have a talk with the children as well, and our digital leaders, to see well, what do you want to do? Not just the staff sitting around. What do the children want to do? What do they find that was easy? What do they find a little bit harder, and things that they may have missed out? Let's push that. Let's go with it.
Fabulous. And then last one, sorry, I feel like
it's okay.
You didn't realise I was going to grill you. Golden nugget. If you had to kind of give one golden nugget to everyone, what would it be?
I'd say the progression map, or going on your, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but those courses in those different schools, I learned so much from, because what was good was Sean gave us time to actually, we learnt lots, and then we were given time to actually think about those things and implement them and bring them into our school. And that progression map, I can't explain, it just breaks everything down.
And the staff, when we had the time to plan on the grid that we showed you, there was no I can't do this. Everybody was just on it, because it was so easy to follow.
It's easy to the eye as well, if that makes sense. It's not information. It's easy to follow. Please do it.
And we just looked at that and thought, oh yeah, we've got that app. No, we haven't got that, but we can use that app to do that. And it was brilliant.
That's great. Thank you both. And just to note, I haven't paid Meg and Kath to say any of those things. That's a genuine, those progression maps are there. They're free to use, and I would really strongly encourage you to explore them with your staff, just to provide variety in terms of your digital tasks and the curriculum.
And the creativity that comes from it.
Yeah. Diolch yn fawr both. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your presentation, and a huge round of applause for your journey over the last 12 months. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. Diolch.
Fantastic, thank you. So, from one to the other, Kate from Garn Teg, lovely to have you along this afternoon to share with us about your journey with digital portfolios. So, with no further ado, I shall hand over to you, and diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thanks, Sean. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kate Ngwenya from Garn Teg Primary School, and I am the digital lead. And as Sean said, I'll just be going over our journey of introducing digital portfolios across the whole school, which we started last year. So going back a few years now, we've always had individual pupil portfolios for all of our children. Originally, they were paper-based, where every child would have their own little file, and they would include individual pen portraits the children would draw at the start of every year. They'd include their termly reports, individual targets, which were then passed up during handover every summer term, and individual tracking sheets with all of the reading levels, benchmarking, spellings, things like that on, and also a place for them to keep any certificates of achievement that they felt they were really proud of. So these are something that we've always worked with and every child has had. And what we wanted to try and do was try and incorporate our digital curriculum into those. So we started by trialing the digital portfolios with our Year 6 children. Initially, it was to support the transition process, because our cluster secondary school use a lot of Google Classroom, a lot of Chromebooks. So we felt that using Google Sites to introduce digital portfolios with our year sixes would benefit them then when they transitioned into year 7. We then moved on and used them as part of a cluster project. So every school in our cluster now uses them as part of our transition work with the comprehensive school, which has been really successful. So moving on from that then, we decided that we wanted to spread our digital portfolios from year 6 and use them right across the school. Obviously, we wanted to show progression within this as well, and not having everybody using the same things. So our original plan, after a bit of a discussion with Sean to identify the best programs and best software to use, we initially went with J2E Mix for nursery to year 1 pupils, Google Slides for children in year 2 and year 3, and then Google Sites for children from year 4 to year 6. Since we've implemented this, we have had a few teething problems with the J2E Mix. We've noticed where we were adding new pages each time, things weren't saving and children were losing their work. So what we've actually done is nursery to year 3 now use Google Slides, and staff are finding that much easier. And the children as well, and also year 4 to year 6 are continuing to use Google Sites. So that's working really well at the moment. I think it also helps that every child has got a Google Drive set up, so any digital work that they do goes into their Google Drive, and then it's really easy for them to access when they're creating their digital portfolios. They just insert it in really quickly and really easily, so that's been really successful as well. So they all have similar contents. They all have an About Me section, which they do in English and in Welsh as well, using the language patterns that they're familiar with for each year group. They have a page for each area of learning, where they can showcase and add any work that they're really proud of for particular areas of learning within the curriculum. They have a My Assessments area, and that includes the termly reports that go in there. From year 2 onwards, they also add their personalised tests results into that section as well to see how they've improved. They all have a My Achievement section, and that area is for them to really show off if they have achieved a Pupil of the Week certificate. They can upload that. If they've achieved any other certificates within school, Eisteddfods, for example, or anything that they've achieved outside of school that they then want to add into their profile, and anything that they're really, really proud of. We also have Sparkle profiles in our school. So each child essentially has a 1-page profile that says all about them, targets that they're working on, how they learn best, and how their teachers can support them in class. So their Sparkle profiles are also added into their digital portfolios as well. We found that by the children doing their digital portfolios, we are covering most of the producing strand of the DCF while we're doing that. So you can see all of the things that I've highlighted off here are the things that we are covering in each of those progression steps while they are completing their portfolios over the course of the year. So it's really nice to see that it's quite a chunky area of the DCF that we are covering doing that. If I share with you now some examples, done some really bad editing, so apologies for the smiley faces. This is an example of a year 2, so this is using Google Slides, and this was all independent. So there's a little front cover where he's popped a picture of himself and something to represent his interests. Then here's a little About Me section, which he's done in Welsh. His Sparkle profile. He's also shared his Seren yr Wythnos certificate. And then as we go through then, he's got his areas of learning, and he's popped in work that he's really proud of. Some of the children as well have done voiceovers on these, so they're talking about their work as they go through. And then towards the end, we've got his assessments, so his reports, and also any high frequency words that he's been working on. So that's really clear for anyone to see. These are then all passed on through the school, so their next teachers have access to these, and they work and build on them as they go through, so they don't start a new one each year. They build on what they've got already, which has been really successful at the moment. So that's a year 2 one.
Can I just ask a question there, Kate?
Yeah.
You may cover that in your year 4 portfolio now, but as they get older, do they start to include like internal hyperlinks to different slides, just like a contents page or anything?
Yeah, so I'll show you in a second. They use Google Sites, so they've started adding buttons and things like that, so they basically build their own web page, so they can link to different areas. I'll show you that one in a second.
Okay.
So this is a reception portfolio. So this was done with a little bit more support from adults, but a similar sort of layout. And the children all choose their own background, so everyone will look completely different. They decide how they want to set it up, how they want it to look. They choose the work that they want to go into it. So it's all really independent and a showcase of each individual learner and their skills as well, which I think has been really lovely to see. And then this one here, this was last year's year 6. So you can see they've got their home page. And as you scroll down, it's got their little about me section, and then they've got the hyperlinks then included, so you can move between them. Some of them are linked to their Google Drive. They've also added videos talking about work that they're really proud of. They've added achievements outside of school. It's been a really, really useful project. So we've decided now that as a cluster, this will be something that we use as part of our transition projects going forward, to support with transition to the comprehensive school.
Okay, in terms of rollout, so if there's a school here now thinking that sounds really interesting, I want to get started on that, how would you recommend kind of going about getting it going?
We found it really beneficial starting with our older pupils, because then they were used then to support lower down in the school when we rolled it out. So we could use our digital leaders in each class to go down and support teachers and pupils and work with small groups and support with setting them up initially. And I think once they're set up and ready to go, staff were then ready to run with it. And I think as well, from the training that we had with you, Sean, and part of the cluster project, our staff were really excited about using Google and Google Sites, and getting really on board with it. So I think that was really useful for us as well to have that training from yourselves.
That's fab. And in terms of then time, obviously you said over the year they build on this over as they do. Do you give dedicated time for this to be worked on, or is it a they autonomously now finish a piece of work and add that to their portfolio when they're ready to, or they feel proud of that piece of work as they go?
A bit of both, really. So we started off giving set time for them, just to get them used to the layout of things and how things worked. And as we've gone through and they've become more au fait with using them, I'm in year 5 and I find that mine pick up and say, oh, I want to add that piece of work to my digital portfolio. Can I go and do that now? So they'll do it as they go along. So a little bit of both. I think lower down the school, where sometimes it's needed a little bit more support, it is more dedicated focus group time for that activity. But as I said, as they become more confident, they are wanting to do it themselves. And if they finished a piece of work, they go ahead and they add to it as they go.
That's great. Thank you very much. Just while I've got you, you mentioned the cluster program a little bit. Do you want to just briefly talk about the sort of some of the what impact that's had on your school and cluster, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot?
Yeah, I think we all really enjoyed being part of the project. I know we got a lot of staff on board. Our TAs who attended the TA session They didn't want to go home. It was a twilight session and they could have stayed there all night. They were so enthused looking at that project. We've also created progression maps as well as part of our cluster, and they've been shared in staff training, including the progression maps that were shown earlier. And I think staff have just found it so much easier with their planning. They can see it. It's been really, really beneficial. And the impact as well. I did a survey before we started, and I can't remember the exact figures, but staff confidence in using ICT was quite low. And by the end, I think we had most staff feeling either confident or very confident in using ICT to enhance our curriculum. So it was really, really successful. So I do recommend it. Definitely.
Fabulous. And again, I haven't paid Kate for that. Kate, that was an on-the-spot question. Diolch yn fawr, Kate. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for sharing your presentation. If anyone does want any further support with digital portfolios, please do feel free to get in touch with me, or I'm sure Kate would be happy to provide a little bit of advice and guidance on anything that you're looking to do. But diolch yn fawr, Kate, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
How's it going, guys? You all right?
Shwmai, how are you doing this afternoon?
Yeah, living the dream, as always.
Living the dream as always. Well, diolch yn fawr, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I was looking at all the things coming out from the Express team over the summer, thinking there's a huge amount in here to unpack, and I thought rather than me do it, I'd get the expert on to come and share some of those things. So I think I've made you a presenter, so you should be able to share your screen. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing all about the updates to Adobe Express, Meredith.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so you should be seeing my screen if I understand Teams properly, which, you know, I wouldn't put any significant sums of money on that kind of bet. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. So my name is Meredith Jones, and I work for the UK education team for Adobe. If I've never been on a session with you before, just a quick intro. So I joined the team back in January, so I've done like 9 months now nearly. Before then, I was head of digital in Maes y Gwendraeth Comprehensive School in the Gwendraeth Valley in Carmarthenshire for 17 years. And before then, I was a music peripatetic, working mainly with primary schools. So my background is kind of in creative arts, and then moved over to digital creative arts and IT and all things digital. So yeah, so that's my background in a nutshell for you there. So yeah, we're going to just have a quick look at what's new in Express, and maybe some of you are new to Express, so I won't try to gloss over the basics too quickly either. So just a quick reminder, just in case you are totally new to this and you what's he talking about, what's Adobe Express? So Adobe Express is available to all of us in Wales through Hub. It's free, totally free for all schools, and it's browser based. There is also an iPad app, which is a free download, which learners can sign into with their Hub email address and password. And the experience now, that's probably the first new thing I'll tell you about, is that the experience now between the iPad and the browser is aligned. So the iPad app used to look quite different to the browser that you're looking at right now on my screen. So now if you open up the iPad app, it looks exactly like this, and the skill set is aligned and everything. So if you've got, I know there's still a lot of schools that have got a mix of devices in class. So maybe some learners will be using Chromebooks, some will be on iPads. So that's going to definitely help with that. So what is Express? It's quite difficult to explain Express just in one sentence because it does do so much. But really, if you want to do anything creative and to do with digital, then Express is really the best place you can go, especially through our Hub logins. If you want to do any kind of graphic design, infographics, posters, pamphlets, PowerPoints, that kind of stuff, then that's what really kicked us all off with the old Adobe Spark app, if you remember that back in the day. But it's been built out now. You can see on the dashboard here the colored tiles. So you've got the green tile there is if you want to do the graphic design stuff, and we'll have a dig into there in a little while. But it's also now got a video editor built in. And what's really nice is that the video editor and the graphic design editor are actually the same one. So it's the same skill set. So if you teach your kids how to create a poster using really basic skills, they can take those exact skills on into video editing. It's the same tool set. We've also got a web page builder. So I really enjoyed Kate's presentation there. I found that really fascinating. As somebody who's, I've grappled with digital portfolios over the years as well, and we can all see the worth of digital portfolios, and it's just putting in that real spade work to get them off the ground, because you want to get them to a level. So again, if you want to make one-page digital portfolios, we've got a web page builder built into Express, which can also bring in all the other stuff you've made in Express. You can just, if you've made a video, you can throw it in. If you've made a graphic design, you just throw that in. And then we got some really fun stuff as well, like animate a character and the drawing app. Okay, so let's start off with the drawing app, because that's seen some big enhancements recently. Okay, so you've got your main colored tiles here, these 4 kind of main activities. But also, if you scroll down, there's more stuff. You can make presentations in there as well. So if I go to the drawing app here, this is, and I'm not saying this because I work for Adobe, this is by far and away the best drawing experience that you'll get on a browser. And that includes, that's not just on Hub, this is like full stop. If you want a free drawing experience, these brushes have come over from Fresco, which is Adobe's professional illustration app, which means that, I've been doing workshops with reception and year 1 classes, and I'll show you now just how easy it is to make something that looks, incredible with the drawing app. And it all comes down to the brushes. Okay, so on the left, as you can see that the interface is really nice to use. We've also got AI coloring sheets as well. So you see all these coloring sheets. You could actually generate your own coloring sheet just by tapping on generate coloring page, explain what you want, and it'll create a coloring page for you, and the learners can paint directly onto that. But let's take it back to the basics. So if I click on brush here on the left-hand side, this is really nice and intuitive for younger learners to use. So if I want to make something that looks amazing, let's see how easily I can do that. How easily can I make a really impressive kind of space scene? So I can just grab the hard round brush and blast that over my canvas. Right, so I want to make something that looks like deep space. So if I click, you've got these categories of brushes: your basic, multicolor, art supplies, and decorative. So in the multicolor, you'll find things like a cheese brush, which, if you didn't know it, guys, we all needed a cheese brush in our lives. And then art supplies is my personal favorite. These are the ones that have come over from Fresco, and they're amazing. Things like the watercolor brush. So if I want to make this kind of deep space image, something that looks like, those kind of gas clouds that you see when you see those amazing photos of space. So you can do just something simple like that. That drawing skill that I use there is definitely not something that isn't available to younger learners. They can definitely do these kind of broad brush sweeps. And it's just the fact that the brush looks amazing that makes the end product look amazing. You can do something like the chalk brush, turn the size up, just do single clicks around the place, and we'll get these kind of far off distant stars again. And once again, I can just go back to my watercolor fill brush and just kind of paint back over it, just to tame down those colors a little bit. And what about a big fiery sun? Let's go back to our first brush here. It's the hard round brush. And just click once. There we go. And maybe there's a small planet next to this big sun. So let's bring the brush size down, change the color. There we go. Can I make these look better? I think I can. What about this planet? What if I want it to look kind of hazy and misty? So I'll just change it to this soft round brush. Click once. And it should give me, oops, let's bring the size up, sorry. Yeah, it gives me that kind of out of focus misty look. And then finally, I want it to look as if there's kind of flames dancing off the surface of the sun, these solar flares. Just go back to this watercolor brush I used right at the beginning. I'm just going to give it a swish around. There we go. And there we go. I've just, used really basic drawing techniques. What I've done there isn't hard. And the output in, 5 minutes of doodling looks amazing. And it's not because I'm not a good artist at all, but it's just the tools that I've got there allow me to be more creative. I'll pause there just in case there's a question. So I'm in the office today, so I haven't got 2 screens, so I can't see Teams or anything. So if anybody's typing a question or if Sean's making faces at me, I can't see anything. So
no, just nothing in the chat. But that is, I think, you just demonstrated in very, very short time how quickly you could create something that is probably going to take a lot more work when you've got to get all the resources out to do it. So I think that's a really powerful way of demonstrating those skills. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a workshop with the school. So let me just start a new drawing here. Okay, so I'll just clear this. I did a workshop with the school just before the summer, and we were doing some curriculum Cymraeg stuff. So we were learning about Celtic knots. So that's another amazing one. So we've got symmetry in here. So if you want to bring numeracy into the expressive arts, this is a wonderful way of kind of linking AOLEs. Because you've got, as you can see there, different lines of reflective symmetry, rotational symmetry. So let's just have a look at that quickly. If I want to make a Celtic knot, let's just grab a different brush. Here we go, this will do, that's fine. Okay, so you can see I've got that symmetry switched on. So now, whatever I do on this page gets reflected around the page. And you can add as many different lines of symmetry as you want. And then we were looking at Celtic knots and recreating the Celtic knot that Gwen Hian used. And then we were looking at the difference between reflective and rotational symmetry. So we even used it to Beaumaris Castle up on Anglesey is the most symmetrical castle in Europe. Okay, there we are. If you want to take anything away from today, go and drop that at the dinner table tonight. Well, did you know that Beaumaris Castle is the most symmetrical castle in all of Europe? So we used the symmetry in here to actually draw the floor plan of Beaumaris Castle. So it's a square design, and it's got a round turret at each corner, and then it's actually got a longer turret down the sides. Then you've got 2 gatehouses, one at the north side, one on the south side. And then we've got this concentric wall of turrets that are linked by walls that go all the way around. And you see that I've just been drawing that in 1/4. But it's actually, reflected the line symmetry and built up the whole castle. What's amazing about this, of course, is that I can use this then wherever I want to cross-express. So say that I love that. I've drawn my basic floor plan of Beaumaris Castle. So let's just get rid of that background color so that it's transparent. Now, I'll just call this Castell Beaumaris. There we go. Oh, I've already done this about 1 million times. So I'll do boom. Right, there we go. And I'm going to back out now, back to the Express homepage. So whenever you want to go back to the homepage, just tap on the big colourful A in the top left-hand corner. And we're back out. Right, now then, what if I want to take that drawing that I did and do something with it? So what about creating a graphic? Okay, so I can go into my stuff and I can bring in anything else that I've done on Express into my project, and it'll pop it onto my canvas. It's telling me about add-ons. I don't know what add-ons, thanks. Yeah. Right. Is it gonna, sorry, my internet is a little sketchy in the office, so maybe I've just dragged that in about 10 times now, have I? Perhaps. So when you do that, because it's got a transparent background, I can combine it with things like in the elements. Maybe I could go for grass. So let's have this kind of grassy background. Lovely. Something like this would be perfect. So I bring that in as a background. Let's see if this is going to load. I didn't save it. I think my internet, isn't behaving. Yeah. Okay, fine. I'll circle back to that. Right. So you can see then that, when you're drawing stuff, it doesn't just have to kind of sit there. Well, I made this drawing. What do I do with it now? We can bring that in to other elements. Let's just check. This opens up. Did it save with my Boom file name? Yeah, it did. It's fine. Everything in Express as well saves all of the time. So even without the file name, even if you leave it as untitled, your learners won't lose any work. So if you get an internet dropout, or if the battery on the Chromebook crashes out, then the next time they log back in, that piece of work will be exactly where they left it. Okay, there's no save button to click. It's saving everything we do all of the time. Right, let's see. Boom isn't coming in. What with this thing I did? Yeah, okay. Right, what else is new? Well, within Express, we've got the super fun animate character. Okay, so on the homepage, you've got this animate your voice. This has been massive for developing Odyssey. And what's been really nice about this is it kind of democratizes that thing of, when you want to film your kids or you want to record their voices, and you've always got some kids that are really keen on this, and then other learners that really hate being on camera. What's nice about animate characters is that so there's over 250 characters to choose from, and that by using this, we've got learners that normally don't like being on camera that actually really engage with choosing a character that they like, and then having their voice lip synced to this character. So that's as simple as choosing character, choosing a background, and then recording your voice there. Also, it's got the enhanced speech button down the bottom here, which they say it's powered by AI, but I don't believe it. I think it's some kind of witchcraft, because you can be in the noisiest classroom with all of your learners recording their voices all at the same time. And if you've got that enhanced speech button ticked, then it's going to basically work out which voice is the one nearest to the laptop and get rid of all the rest. When I used to try and do these kind of activities 5-10 years ago, they'd be like, everybody be quiet, Johnny Bach is about to record. And then Johnny Bach would be embarrassed because he didn't really want everybody to listen to him record his voiceover. And then, you'd have somebody make a fart noise in the back and ruin Johnny Bach's recording. We've all been there. So it's really nice. The learners enjoy recording their voices whilst there is this kind of hubbub going on in the classroom. And then it's magic when it actually takes out all of that noise and you're just left with their voice. Now, what's really cool is that used to sit on its own. But now that's built in to the editor. So here I am in the Make a Video editor, and under Media, in the left-hand toolbar, you can see if I go to Videos there, we can bring animate characters directly into a video project. So that's just a new tweak that's been made, kind of linking those two apps. The Animate Character app used to be separate from the video editor. Now you can just bring it straight in. So this is a really nice compromise on, whether you want to invest the time in getting the camera out, recording people, filming them, getting that footage into your device, getting from the device into whichever app you're going to be using to edit your video. By using an animated character instead, which actually has that child's voice, you're cutting out a lot of that setup time, which sometimes you'll want to get the cameras out, but sometimes you just want to have their voices on a moving video project. This is a really nice way of doing that in a way where they can all get on with it. Because once you want to use cameras, maybe you've got 3 cameras, and then they've got to wait their turn, etc., etc. If you are doing anything with video clips and you use a green screen, And I felt, even with your mics off, I heard you. When I said the word green screen, I heard people going, oh, goodness me. So what's amazing in Express is that you can remove the background on videos without a green screen. So if you are filming anyone on a background, so for example, say this video clip here, we've got, once you click on it, the remove background tool, that works with still images, but it also works with video clips. And this will be a tricky one because there's two people there. So it'll work out what's the background. And you can see that's a really difficult background to get rid of on a video, right? That's hard. There we go. It's got rid of the backgrounds, kept the two people in. And, you know, if you're not quite happy with that, you can still crop stuff out. So, you know, you can still use crop as you'd like to, but that video clip now plays with the background removed, with no green screen. So leave the green screen with its broken leg and dodgy bulb in the back of the dusty store cupboard where it is, and just film against whatever you want and click once to remove background. This behaves just like you'd want a video editor to behave, so you can easily add text. You can add other elements, you can add backgrounds, you know, everything that you want to do in a video editing activity, it's all here. It's all in the browser. And, you know, if you learners want to finish off at home, then they can just go home, log into Hub, carry on. If they wanted to add a voiceover at home because it was a bit noisy in school, or they were feeling a bit shy to do it in front of other people, then they've got the option to do that. You're not tied to a device or an app that's installed on a device. It's just here on the browser. Okay, I'm going to pause again there. Sean, is there anything at all? Any questions? Anything?
No questions. I have a question though.
Yeah, do it, man.
Oh, go on. Actually, no, Meg, you've put your hand up. I'll just follow my voice. Let's listen to you. What would you like to ask?
Sorry. If you sign in through Hub then, how would you, when you save it, would it automatically go onto your Hub drive, or how? Because with the Chromebooks, it wouldn't save to the children's device.
Yeah, so as we know, there's no such thing as a hub drive, because you've got Google Drive, OneDrive, My Files through J2E. So, you know, so in the same way, if you work on Express, it saves it into Express as your stuff. So basically, you've got a drive, you've got online storage. All of your learners have got a folder where their stuff sits in Express. So if you want to keep your evidence in something like Google Drive, then you can obviously download it from Express, drag it into that folder. That's one option. Or if you're using Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, you can send work directly from Express straight away to there. So, for example, it was Owain Glyndŵr Day on Monday. So we did this activity where we were recreating Owain Glyndŵr's banner and then using kind of heraldic norms to come up with their own banner. So you can just go into Share there, and you can see you've got Google Classroom and Teams. If you're making digital portfolios like Kate was just showing us, you could just create a view-only link and you could just embed that into Google Sites. Or if you're making a digital portfolio using a web page editor in Express, you can pop it into there. But yeah, what a lot of people do there is that they would just download that as a PNG and drag it into wherever they are storing their files. Because obviously across Hub, that's going to be a different story, isn't it? That's going to be not the same for everyone.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Sean, what did you have?
Owen has got a question, so I'll come to mine last. So Owen, if you want to...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the animating characters looks really in terms of like taking away some of the issues we had with podcast recording last term. Is it possible to animate two characters on the same video editor, or is it one character? Say we had like two voices.
You can do one at a time.
Oh, cool. Right. Yeah, brilliant.
So you could bring them into the same project. So on this project, so I'll go pop back to that video project. So make a video here. So I can obviously animate a character on this scene. Then I can tap add a scene.
The next scene.
Yeah. So if you wanted to do like a conversation between two characters, you could do it that way. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
All right. No worries. Go on, Sean.
Colin. My question would be then, if I wanted to animate my own character.
Yes, that is probably the top request for anime character. So that's, yeah, it's that. So animate character is actually powered by one of the Adobe Pro apps, which is called Character Animator. They just switched the words around, 2 words around. So Character Animator, I used it with my GCSE students, and it works in a really similar way. You can you speak, and it'll lip sync to your voice, and then you can also control arm movements, facial movements, and all that kind of stuff. Now on the Pro app, you can actually use Illustrator or Photoshop and design your own character, but you then have to map, where is the hand, where is the arm, where is the elbow, where is the knee, where are the eyebrows, so that's quite involved. So basically the kind of engineering team are looking at, right, is it feasible to bring an element of that into Express? And the whole idea with Express is that it's meant to be, grab and go, easy to use, really intuitive. So is it possible to bring that feature into Express without making it too complicated? So that's the trade. That's always the trade-off. I mean, the answer, every question that comes up about Express, could it do X? The answer is always yes, because basically everything that's in Express is powered by the professional apps. So Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro for video editing, Animate, Character Animator, and Dreamweaver. So all of those things that people request already exist in the Pro apps. It's whether by bringing them into Express, is it overcomplicating things too much? So that's always the kind of balancing act that people way more important than me are always thinking about. But for sure, that is the #1 top request.
Is it possible now to use like a mouth or something in the animator bit?
Yes.
To overlay it on an image?
Yeah, we've done a lot of that on our live lessons, which I'll mention in a bit. So we've got the built-in the built-in AI text to image, right? So within Express, if you want to experiment with AI image generation and you're a bit nervous about it, because there's plenty of reasons to be nervous about producing AI images, then in Express is definitely the best place to do it. So if you're using any kind of websites out on the World Wide Web or the Wild Wild West, then we've obviously got issues like inappropriate images being produced and copyright concerns. So within Express, it's all filtered for educational use. It'll reject a lot of prompts. It'll also only produce images that it's learned on Adobe stock images, which by themselves are not inappropriate. So you could generate an image in here, and then you could just then put a set of lips on that. So if you then go into video, animate characters, we've got a category of characters which is called mouth only. And we've had loads of fun with that on our live sessions, where then you pop that in. So I'll just find one for you rather than tell you about it. In our first week back, we did a welcome back to school thing. So I don't think I'm gonna have to scroll too far to find this. Yeah, here we go. I think it was this all about me. So we built up this graphic project from scratch. So again, all about me infographic. And then we used AI to describe myself and describe my school uniform in order to get that image exactly as I wanted to. My Wi-Fi is not behaving here. Try and refresh. Here we go. There we go. Right, here we go. So you can see we built this up on the live lesson a couple of weeks back. So this image was made using AI. Okay, so you can see if I click on it and go into generate image, you can see the prompt that I typed in up here. Okay, so I typed in boy, spiky brown hair, glasses, purple school uniform, blue shirt, modern glass building in the background, anime style. And it generated 4 images for me, and that's the one I chose. But then we moved on, we duplicated the project, and then I added a set of lips to it. I don't know if you can hear this. I can't remember if I shared my sound with you or not. But now, hello, my name is Meredith Jones. I live in Carmarthen, and the best thing I did this summer was to have. All right, so I don't know if you can hear that, but it was a really fun project, you know. Just a really interesting way of taking something like a static About Me pamphlet that we put together, and then bringing in some kind of moving images to it with that, and then we can animate. You know, you can animate. Okay, this box of chips here can animate in. How do I want it to animate in? I wanted a bungee in. There it is. And then whilst the scene's going on, I wanted to spin round and round like the crazy chips that they are. So you could take some. You could start off with just a still image, still project, just a graphic design, and then you can turn it into a video project. You don't have to start again. It can just evolve into a video project. So, you know, if you're looking at ways to differentiate in a really nice organic way, then you know, it's a really interesting way to introduce video concepts, timeline concepts, stacking clips. And some learners maybe will be, you know, they'll feel that they've achieved by working on just the graphic design project, and then the other learners then that have finished a bit earlier, maybe they've added some audio, some voiceover, whatever to it. Right. Anything else, Sean? Any more questions?
None in the chat, I don't think. Unless anyone has any questions they'd like to put their hand up and unmute, you're welcome to do so.
Well, whilst we're waiting for that, I'll just talk you through what we do. Oh, Dom's here. Come here. Come on. Here he is. Dom's just walked in through the door. There he is. So,
hi, Dom.
There's his face. He's wearing the same shirt as that photo. Look. God, he's only got one shirt.
You're in the unsafest of hands.
So we've got our weekly live lesson schedule. So if anybody's sitting here now this afternoon, you're thinking, wow, this looks really cool, but I wouldn't know where to start using this in class, then a great place to start is to come along to one of our live lessons. So what you do is you get your learners logged into Hub, open up Adobe Express, and then you pop our live stream video up on your whiteboard with the speakers on, and then Dom and I then will take you through some seasonal activities. So it's all based on calendar events. So we did Roald Dahl Day was on Friday, Owain Glyndŵr Day was on Monday. Next week is Maths Week Scotland, and it's European Day of Languages on Thursday. So if you want to do something for European Day of Languages, which is next Thursday, then just come along to our live lesson. They're available in Welsh and in English. So there'll be a Welsh session in the morning, and then there's an English session in the afternoon. If you've done a few of those and you really enjoy using Express, we've also got our teacher training program. So we've got ACE Level 1, ACE Level 2. And again, there's totally free training. So if you're getting hassled by your line managers right now, which you probably are at this time of the year, to get your professional development priorities handed in, then a really nice one to do would be to say, I want to do my Adobe Creative Educator Level 1. It's a 1.5 hour training from 4 till 5:30, where we have a discussion about creativity and we get hands-on using Express. So we got those, and then if you'd rather just grab something off the shelf and go, we've also got lesson packs, so kind of lesson plans based around the top requested curriculum topics. So we've got everything that we teach, so things like Romans, Vikings, diversity, rainforests. It's basically the most asked for topics from teachers in the UK. Well, mainly from Wales, actually, because that's where we got most responses from. They're all there on a playlist as well, so you can grab and go whenever it suits you. So, you know, we're here to help you to get your kids excited and using creative skills, and hopefully that can also fit around whatever you're working on and the topics you're working on right now. Right, any questions at all on that?
No, all good. I've popped those 3 links into the chat for everyone, so you know you're welcome to click on those or copy and paste those into your browser and go and have a look at those. But just to say a huge thank you, Meredith, for joining us this afternoon to share all the updates with Adobe Express. And as always, your enthusiasm, I'm sure, will have permeated through the screen to everyone else. So thank you so much. And I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Oh, you got away with words, Powell.
I wrote that one down on the back of my hand, I did.
No, yeah, guys, we are here to help you, all right? So, and Sean does amazing work in EAS. But if you want something specific, Adobe, then just get in touch with Sean or get in touch with us directly, because that's what we're here for. Right, thanks for having me on, Sean. I'm going to drop off.
Fantastic. Well, there we go, guys. A huge update there on some of the tools that are available through Adobe Express. Lots of things to explore, particularly that drawing tool and the ability to really create some quite sophisticated artwork there with those tools that are available. So a huge thank you to Meredith. Okay, Simon.
No problem at all. So I think last time I was on, we showed a number of the exciting classroom tools, such as practice sets, interactive YouTube questions and things like that. So I won't go over those again unless anyone particularly wants me to, but I can just give you a few of the updates that are included in some of those things. So hopefully you can see my screen. Can someone just give me a thumbs up? Yeah,
all good, all good.
Great stuff. So so here I am in a classroom, and you should be able to see this okay. And you may recall when we go into our resources tab within Google Classroom, this is where our previously created content sits in terms of practice sets and also interactive YouTube questions. So going into our previously created practice set, there's a couple of extra features that have arisen within here. So you may recall practice sets is an AI tool that allows us to bring in additional content that Google has selected to help us with a supported question. So now what we have here is the ability to add in a bit more of our own content. Previously, we were a little bit limited that we could add our own kind of hint or our own kind of YouTube video, but within here, we can now, we only had to be able to add our own sort of hints in here, but now we can add our own YouTube content within here as well. So if we've got a pre-recorded video that we like better than maybe going out to the internet for class-based content, then we can add our own YouTube video simply into our practice set as an assisted resource for our students. Also, what's about to launch is the fact that we'll be able to add our own, let's find another one with a gap. We'll be able to add our own images in here as well. So when we go to plus, there will be an image as well. So if we've created our own battle card, then in the next few weeks, then we should be able to upload those into practice sets as well. So that way, when we've got a student that needs some assisted information, we're not satisfied that Google's necessarily nailed it close enough, well, we've got that flexibility to add in all of our own resources. So then if our students are going along and needing those hints, then they can go to those added in resources, which is quite nice. So going into our classrooms as well, there's a nice feature within our classroom management page where we can now group students together. And I really should have brought some students into a classroom to show you. Let me see whether any of my other classrooms have got any students in. Just try this one. Are there people in here? No, I haven't. So, but what we can do is with our lists of students, we can actually now group our students into particular bands. So if we've got a group of higher level learners and maybe those who are not of such a high standard, we could put them into separate groups. So then when we are creating an assignment, rather than just assigning it to all students, then we can then also just assign particular individual assignments to groups to save us having to manually going through the class list and selecting those students. We can just assign something to our red group or our blue group or however it is that you want to divide your differentiated levels within your classroom. So this was actually one of the topmost requested features within Google Classroom, and it's here finally after a period of time. So another thing within interactive YouTube questions. So when we are now searching for a question, and I don't know whether I showed this last time, but when we go into a particular video activity, we now get AI suggested questions to go along with that particular activity. So if I select this photosynthesis video here, and maybe we want to add questions to it, well then, within here, AI has now suggested a bunch of questions to go along with this particular video activity. I think if I did show this last time, it was in beta, but now it's gone into general availability. So if you have a teaching and learning upgrade, or if you have your own domain, if you have a Plus license, then you'll be able to have these AI suggested videos within Google Classroom. So that's quite nice. And the other thing finally within Google Classroom is they've really expanded the list of add-ons that are available within Google Classroom. So Classroom add-ons, you may recall again, if you've got a teaching and learning upgrade or a Plus license, allows us to bring in, I guess, the equivalent of extensions directly within Google Classroom. So for instance, if we wanted to run Kahoots, then we can add Kahoot directly into our Google Classroom into an assignment, which means that then you don't have to take them out of the walled garden of Classroom to be able to run a Kahoot or something. They can just stay within Classroom too. So it just speeds up and the efficiencies of all of those things. And they've expanded anyway the number of add-ons that are available. So if you've got a teaching and learning upgrade license and you haven't had a play with those, certainly suggest having a look through the list of add-ons. So off the heels of the previous speaker, Adobe Express is in here, so we can start to work with Adobe Express and set Adobe Express assignments, but from directly within Google Classroom. So without having to take people out and then them try and find the activity, just streamlines and makes that a lot of that smoother. So I guess since last summer, those are probably the latest announcements directly within Classroom. One of the other things that is coming down the track very, very soon within Classroom is the ability to AI create lesson plans from directly within Google Classroom. It's in beta at the moment, and at the moment I don't seem to have permission to that beta at the moment, but within Classroom you'll be able to create a lesson plan. It'll ask you what year group of children you're addressing, what the particular subject is, what the learning objectives might be for that lesson, how long the lesson will be, and then also any kind of sparkle that you want to put on there. Maybe we want to make this a Taylor Swift themed lesson, or if it's the World Cup, we make it a World Cup themed lesson, and then it will AI generate that lesson plan from directly within Classroom, and it will only come up with education appropriate resources. So that's quite nice. That's in beta at the moment, but watch out for that coming soon. So that's kind of it for Classroom. Let's just jump into Gemini and show you some of the.
Sorry, just a quick couple of questions in the chat for you. The first question is the group setting in Google Classroom that something that is or will be enabled through Hub? Is it open to everyone, or do you need the teaching and learning license? I would be mine.
You need the. Oh, that's a good question. Do you know what? Can I come back to you on that? I thought it was available for all. So I would have thought you should have started to see that appear in your classrooms. If you haven't, then maybe it's a teaching and learning upgrade feature license. Let me check that, and I'll report back on with an email after if that's okay.
No problem. Thank you.
Was there any other questions?
The other one I've answered in the chat about the add-ons and the teaching and learning upgrade. So that it can be purchased via the EdTech funding. And I think the next wave is October, if I'm correct.
That's right, yeah. That's right. So there's two, the same with your Adobe licenses as I understand it. So there's two windows for you to purchase teaching and learning upgrade licenses. One is in June and the other one is October. So if you see some things here that you would like, then yeah, maybe worth speaking to your LA to get a teaching and learning upgrade license ordered for you. Cost, if you wanted to know it, is £33.75 per user for the year. So that's actually, it will be pro rata, so your cost will be slightly less than that. If you were buying it for the full year from the June window, then it would be £33.75, but you may get it slightly cheaper because it will pro rata until the end of October. So effectively, there'll be 2 months that you won't have to pay for that.
And I suppose just to confirm that, Simon, it's only teachers who need those licenses, not pupils.
Correct. So that's right. So the owner of the classroom, the teacher who's the owner of that classroom, is the only person that needs to be licensed. And then you'll have access to all of the advanced teaching and learning features within your Google Classroom. So practice sets, interactive YouTube videos, classroom add-ons, and also the ability to record your Google Meets as well. You get all of those features as well.
Is the reading feature included in that as well? Is it?
Yeah,
read along,
which I think we showed last time, isn't it?
We did, yeah.
Is a feature that's also teaching and learning upgrade feature there. That's also previously when we showed that as well last summer, that was in beta, but again now that's gone into general availability. So if you've got a teaching and learning upgrade, you should be able to start using that within your classroom straight away.
Chris, you've got your hand up. Did you want to ask a question there?
Oh yeah, would I need to get a license for every member of staff within it, or is it just these ones who want to use it?
So it's not, you don't need to license everybody. You can just license as many or as few people who would like to use those features. So if you've only got one or two teachers that want to use some of these features, then you can just buy 1 or 2 licenses.
Okay, Chris.
Should we? Any more questions on Classroom before I move into Gemini?
No, I think that's all.
No? Okay.
Thanks, Simon. Cheers.
Yeah, great. No problem. So let's have a look at Gemini now then. Can you see my Gemini screen okay, the way I've shared my screen?
Yes, you can, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Sorry, I'm only on one laptop screen, so I have to minimize the Teams window. So yeah, okay, so within Gemini, we showed this last time, and obviously this is a full generative AI platform. So if any didn't manage to catch the last recording from last year, then you can create lesson plans in here. You can create any kind of text written comment. I think since last time, we've now got the ability to add files as well. So if we wanted to upload a file or an image from our drive or from our computer, we can do that, and then we can now start to use Gemini to ask questions around that particular file that we've uploaded. So that's quite handy, particularly if we wanted to have Gemini work along with us as a partner to some of our documents that we want to work with. So that's a relatively new feature, which has now gone to general availability. Another feature which has just launched, and for this feature you will need to buy a paid for Gemini license, and this is around gems. So this is the ability to customize a particular AI experience. So in Gems, and it's not loading my Gems for some reason, but in Gems we can create specific customized AI tools. So if I click into this one here, which I've just created, and it doesn't seem to be working for me. Let me try refreshing my page. Okay, it's signed me out. Maybe that's why. So if I go now into my Gems manager, there we go. We can see that it's got various creative tools that have been put together which are customized. So what this will do is this will save us from having to put in all of the context every time. So from the perspective of an IT administrator within a school, blah, 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 or from the perspective of a year 6 teacher, then so it just stops you to having to put in all of the context for what you want to do each time. So for instance, the one that I've created here is around a French pen pal. So in this particular one, then we can start to have a conversation with a French student. So we could say, my French is very, very rusty, by the way. We could say, bonjour, ça va? And then we will get a nice French response. And then the idea is that we'll be, then we'll be able to, should click on things, but not really what they are. Bonjour, ça va? And then it can, it'll ask us about some questions, and then we can start to converse with our French pen pal in French. So maybe as an educator, then you might want your students to create a letter to a French pen pal. So then we could even upload the letters into here and get responses back to them. But we can start to see how we can customize an experience within Gemini from a teacher perspective, or even from a student perspective. We could ask the students to maybe help us to respond to the questions that the French pen pal is asking us in class. So we could facilitate a class conversation with the pen pal in this kind of a way. And we can do this in any customizable way that you may be able to think of, by just telling the language model what you want it to be and what the purpose of that is. So if we go into our gem manager, we can create a new gem here. We can give our gem a name. So we could say this is a sales enablement support. Sorry, this is very me focused and not you. Yeah, so we to practice objection handling with IT clients in the education. And then we could test out our Gemini. So we could ask it a question just to see whether it's reacting as we expect, and then we could save that gem in there, and then we can manage our gems just through our gem manager here. Here's some pre-made by Google, and then our gems will show up under here. So that's quite useful. And as always with your education accounts, not sure if we mentioned this last time, but when you use your education account with Gemini, it's fully data protected, meaning that none of the information that you use goes off to train any large language models, meaning that it's completely safe to use with your school data, and you don't need to worry about things dialing back to base, etc. Full data protection is built in with education accounts. Not the case if you were using a consumer account, and not the case if you were using just a free work account as well. But for Google Workspace for education accounts, then that data protection has been built in for you, which is quite nice. Okay, so last thing that I want to show you is I'm just going to try and share a different window. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share a tab instead, because it's in a slightly different window. And we will share this tab here. So hopefully this is showing up okay. And this is a tool which is called Notebook LM. So it says here that it's experimental, but it has actually just been announced as an additional service within Google Workspace for Education. So if this isn't available to you, then a conversation with Hub may be able to open this up. I'll be honest, I've not spoken to Hub prior to this call to see whether it's already enabled for you or whether it is not. But what this allows us to do is to have a generative AI experience, but we're only going to use the data that we've pre-selected. So for instance, maybe you have a resource across your department. Maybe you're the English department within a school, or maybe you're a Key Stage 2, and what you could do is you could upload all of your Key Stage 2 or your English department resources into here, and then this is the source of the data with which we are going to be using our generative AI model across. So I've uploaded one here on Chrome OS Flex, and I've put in some web pages in here. I've put a Google Doc in here. I've uploaded 2 slide presentations on Chrome OS Flex. So I can now start to ask questions, and it will only pull information back from the data that I've put into here. So I could just ask, how do you create a USB installer for Chrome OS Flex? And the language model will then look across my data that I've got in here and will come up with a response. So it's really quite useful if you want to be able to, if you've got a lot of resources that you've already developed, but you want to engage with those in a conversational way. So effectively what you get is a full expert in the data that you put together. So there we go. So we can see here that it's come up with a nice way of how to do that for us, and it cites the data sources that are in here as well. So we can see exactly where it's pulled that data from within our data set. So really, really great for working with curriculum, school content, even policies as well. So you could upload all of your school policies and you could ask questions of your policies, asking what the policy is around this within the school that we work.
Does the data, sorry Simon, does the data with that then stay safe again, much like everything else in the education workspace?
Exactly that. So the official announcement actually only came out this morning. So you're getting this right hot off the press. That was the first thing I looked at, was what's the data implications. And again, nothing that you type into here goes off the base. Again, when you're using your education account, consumer accounts are different. But when you use your education account, nothing goes off to base, and it includes full data protection in there for you. So again, safe to use with school data, because nothing's going to leave your walled garden. So those were the latest updates.
Can you see? Are we all on?
We can, yeah, all good, thank you.
Lovely. So yeah, as Sean said, this is a bit of our journey with looking at progression in computer science. We're using some of the equipment that we purchased last year, and we were working with the Spheros Minis across our schools. So I'm the digital lead across both schools, so Blenheim Road Community Primary School and Coediva Primary School in Cwmbran. Just for a bit of context, we've got about touching on 800 children now across 2 schools, 3 form entry. So we're looking at quite a big span of learners with quite a varying range of abilities as well. So it was quite an interesting project for us to take part in as well. When it came to using the Sphero Minis, we looked at 5 main things really. So top tips for using them and making sure they're purposeful, what good looks like, then effectiveness in the progression steps. Then I'll talk a little bit at the end about any sort of impact we've had on our next steps going forward. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the Spheros, but they're small circular robots with they're quite mobile and programmable, using the iPads mainly in our setting. But our top tips for using them was, number 1, letting people play with them. That's staff and children. I think everyone appreciates the time to have that tinker time. We know how important that is. Second one, getting the aim right. I was working with some of our reception learners, and they were working mainly on the drive function. And one of them came up with a great saying of, make sure his blue bum's facing the right way. So we all sort of stuck with that mantra from then on. Number 3 was a little bit of a rule that we've got across the school whenever we're trying something a little bit new, is making sure you try it yourself so you don't look a bit daft when you get them out for the first time. And then making sure we're using them in different ways and not being afraid to make those mistakes. So in terms of looking at our approach, we wanted to use the spiral approach with the Spheros, making sure we're introducing skills, but then revisiting them throughout the school career, and making sure that those skills that are being learned are then embedded in a variety of different ways. So we wanted to revisit previous learning through a wider variety of contexts. We used the learners as facilitators in the most part, and then using our sort of digital leaders within the school. We had some quite strong year 5 and 6 pupils who would then go and work with some of our younger learners and some of our staff who'd not used with them before. I used the equipment before and help them around some of the questions they may have around using the equipment. And then this allowed the learners to share their own expertise and let them share their pitfalls that may be a sort of common misconception around using these new materials. then when we went down to so that was 2 of our year 6 learners looking at using the block coding, the block coding function with the Spheros, using different map skills to make sure that they get to the right place. And there was a bit of trial and error to start. I think this sort of tinker time and allowing exploration really helped. I think lots of our learners, especially towards the top end of the school, are familiar with things like Scratch and different types of coding, so they could apply some of the skills they'd learned from other places into their coding with. And I think one of the things that was really important was making sure there was that enthusiasm. I think, you know, we're getting any sort of hands-on equipment that really sort of drives that love of learning and gets the learners enthused in what they're getting involved with. And we wanted to make sure that progression was quite clear, though. So when these 2 young men here are using the block coding by the time they've got to year 6, and our sort of progression, our aim of progression step 3, when we talked with our cluster, was to make sure that our learners, when they leave us, are proficient in the block coding and confident using that. But progression step 1 started with mostly drive function, and then progression step 2 looking at the draw coding function. So there's a really nice sort of fluid progression from progression steps 1 to 3, and this progression allowed them for increased complexity in design, using the different bits independently. So you could look into trial and error, and you could look into efficiency with looping and stuff like that. And they sort of had tiers within tiers, looking at how you can make things more complex in the driving, in the drawing, and in the block coding as well. So when we went down to progression step 1, our focus mainly was on driving and recognizing patterns. So we wanted to look at that collaboration in computer science as well, because I think that's one that was a real big focus for us in terms of building those skills, especially further down the school. So we were looking for the learners to be able to discuss instructions with each other and sort of start to identify what may be going. Skill of having a consistency of start, point of positioning goes back to that top tip number 2 of making sure that everything's starting in the right place. And then by recognizing the patterns, we can start to identify simple errors. So I think the activity you can see on the screen at the moment, we were looking at the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. So we started with all the robots, all the parts of the story scattered across the floor, and then we could drive the Sphero to different places. So we're looking at sort of, it's almost like a precursor to that algorithmic thinking, breaking it down into step by step, and then the learners being able to see those steps in the story. So it's bringing that digital then across the curriculum, but also really honing in on those skills and bringing this enthusiasm in with a different way of doing it. We found that they love doing these really hands-on approach, especially with phonics and stuff like that as well. I mean, it really started to develop those computational thinking skills. Then when we moved into progression step 2, we were looking at decomposition and breaking problems down into smaller parts. So we started by using the draw function. I think one of the biggest things I learned during this process is the drawings come out much bigger on the floor than they do on the screen. So it's quite mindful of having the space to do it in. We used the draw function then to build on the previous learning from progression step 1. So knowing the drive system and knowing how you could position the Sphero at the start was really important, but then allowed us then to bring in some more complex questions and the more complex problem solving. I think we started to see that debugging come in quite a lot. So what had gone wrong? Can we change our drawing slightly? Was it all of the drawing that was wrong, or just certain parts of it? And how can we change that to make our outcome more successful? And it just started a little bit more of that exploration as well. So exploring with the color changes and stuff like that, and how can they be changed to more effectively meet your end goal? And then up into progression step 3, then we were working on the block code, and as I said previously, with our cluster, there was a real focus on making sure our learners are proficient in using block coding when they leave us. As well as this, then we wanted to keep building on that complexity and making sure that, as well as spotting problems and being able to change them, our learners could also explain and debug these algorithms, and making sure that anything they tried next was more successful. I think one of the really handy things with the Sphero Minis is having the sensors built in. They show you where there's sort of snags, if there's been a bump or a crash, there's the drawing data that's released after every trip, so it can show you where things have gone wrong. And then this is where we really started to bring in the repeated patterns and the loops to look at efficiency and stuff like that. So there's a real sort of clear progression from where we started at the bottom of the school with nursery and reception in progression step 1, and then how we built on the complexity then up until progression step 3. Some of the barriers we came across when we were working was the drawing one I've already mentioned, that needs a lot of space. So it's making sure that you've got a suitable floor space, first of all, in terms of surface, but then making sure that the surface itself is big enough. And then having those discussions with the learners about the size of their drawings and how can that change to make things more successful. Controlled pace, I think something we introduced a little bit with some of our younger learners was starting with the pace a bit slower, especially with driving, and then sort of building up a little bit to build complexity again, and then making sure the play is structured with them so they're not just seen as a toy, they are seen as a tool as well. It's brilliant that they're so enthusiastic in using them, but it's making sure they're being used in a purposeful way as well. So in terms of our sort of key takeaways, we really wanted to revisit skills that have previously been gone through and make sure that they are consolidated, and then apply these across a variety of different contexts. So no good doing the skill just once and then saying, yeah, we've ticked our Sphero box for the term, we can put them away now, they're not coming back out. It's just making sure that it's done in an interesting way and across the variety of contexts, which means that learners are still engaged with them. They still see them as a little bit of a novelty as well. But those skills are being revisited and they're being honed in on as well. So in terms of impact, we were able to use a variety of coding techniques across the school and showing that progression. We saw learners starting to apply coding to real life problems and seeing this increased engagement due to a hands-on approach using the robots. I think the collaboration element was a real big one. It sort of allowed some children who may not be as confident in other areas of the curriculum to experience being part of a team and having that impactful conversation. And then as well, bringing the computational skills into other areas of learning. Really saw like, and we follow White Rose Maths as a maths curriculum. There's lots of problem solving towards the end of those question papers. So we saw a little bit more of the learners breaking down those problem solving questions at the end of their maths then into that, using that decomposition skill of what's my problem and how do I break it down into smaller and more manageable chunks. So I think the impact on our learners has been massive. It's now for us to explore further how we can make sure that those experiences we're providing with the Spheros is rich and meaningful, because I think it's great to have them, and it's just making sure that the expertise is there and they don't become just a run-of-the-mill tick box exercise. They become something that's really meaningfully planned for, and then the impact then stays high. So the impact on staff, we did a PL rapid action cycle on computational thinking, so really expanded on the importance of having increased tinker time, and that was not just for the children when they're using different resources, but also for staff, so to make sure the staff were familiar. I think lots of staff were given confidence by the durability of the Spheros. They come with a little cover as well, which makes them pretty much indestructible unless you're really intent on doing it. And really saw a bit of more creativity in planning, so making sure that things were being planned alongside our context for learning, so it wasn't just, oh, we're going to do an hour of coding now, let's do it totally separate to the rest of our curriculum. So yeah, in conclusion, we found that the Spheros provided a high level of challenge across progression steps and really showed rich progression. They can and should be used in a variety of contexts, and yeah, that clear path for progression was quite clear to see. If you scan the QR code, there are some resources that I put together as well with different suggestions for uses across the progression step. Some of them for progression step 1 and 2 could be quite useful for enhanced and continuous provision, especially for different areas. So if you want to scan that, Sean, I'm not sure if you want me to PDF those and send them over to you as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Owen.
Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it for us. It was a great opportunity for us to have the opportunity to do this project, and I think having it in line with the EAS computational thinking progression map really sort of helped see where our thinking should be going in terms of showing progression. But yeah, they're awesome things. The kids love them, staff love them now. So yeah, if you get the opportunity, I'd highly recommend.
No, so just to say to everyone, really, that was part of a bigger project where we looked at creating progression maps for specific devices. So I know, Owen, you did Spheros. I got Jack on the call here who looked at unplugged coding. I know Emily and Libanus, you did some stuff on the Spheros or the Lego, I can't remember. Now, all of those progression maps are in the process of being graphicized or graphic, whatever you want to call it, put into a graphic, and they're going to be launched in November at the STEM network meeting. So if you're a STEM lead as well and you're going along to that, you'll see the full launch of those, but they will also be available via the EAS website on the digital and on the STEM page as well. So huge thank you to Owen for your presentation this afternoon. That's been really, really useful and great insight into how you kind of planned to take that through the school. So huge thank you. The last thing I would be really, really grateful for everyone to do is just to provide some feedback on the network meeting for today. And in that feedback, if there's anything that you'd like to see during the next session, or you'd like to see any support with, please do pop that in the evaluation form. So again, you can click on that link on the screen there, and the course code and the course title is there. I'll also